They say that I want America to fight wars for Israel. Nope. Nope. First of all, Israel can take care of herself. If Israel is forced to the wall, the possibility of nuclear exchange is extremely high. That is why it is very important that the United States provide the material aid to Israel and that they also dissuade Hezbollah from... Yes, the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I can't know that. Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, and the current civil war going on at the Daily Wire. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got to tell you guys, I think anybody could have saw this one coming from a mile away, considering how Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens went at it not too long ago about Kanye West, right? It appears that Candace Owens is not going along with the Israel first foreign policy that Ben Shapiro preaches on his channel on a daily basis now, right? Ever since the attack that happened in Israel, Ben Shapiro has gone full-blown. We need to essentially help Israel with an unlimited amount of American dollars, and whatever they do is fine, and we cannot question it. If you question it, you're anti-Semitic, right? In a nutshell. Now, Candace is not necessarily going along with that. She has quite a bit of a difference of opinion. I know Ben wouldn't agree with me, but I would actually characterize Candace Owens' position is a little bit more nuanced, in which she's saying, hey, look, hold on. I'm America first, and that means that we cannot put other countries first, including Israel or Ukraine or any of these other countries that neocons want to put first. I think we should question the U.S. just funding other people's wars, right? Especially when there are some serious questions in regards to the ethics of the war, the tactics that are being used to fight the war, and what is the end goal of the war. Now, again, Candace has simply just been asking questions about some of the things that are being pushed, some of the rhetoric that is being pushed here in this country on both sides of the aisle. But what she's getting backlash for is for questioning the narrative on Israel, okay, and some of the tactics that they're using in the Gaza Strip during the war. So one such example here is her criticism of what Congressman Brian Mast said, in which he basically implied that there are no innocent Palestinians.
As a whole, I would encourage the other side to not so lightly throw around the idea of innocent Palestinian civilians, as is frequently said. I don't think we would so lightly throw around the term innocent Nazi civilians during World War II.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. He's comparing Palestinian civilians, people who are not in Hamas, to Nazis, which is something that Candace Owens took issue with. She said, yeah, this was disgusting, utterly dehumanizing. Of course, there are innocent civilians on either side of every conflict, and we should not forget that. This is shameful, inhumane rhetoric. All right, so that's not the only comments that she's made questioning the narrative. She's also made numerous comments on her show. Take a look.
Well, I am here today to endorse Nikki Haley for president of Israel. I think she's earned that. I think Bibi Netanyahu is going through a very bad time right now. Support for Israel has virtually collapsed socially. If you're paying attention to the trends and you're paying attention to what people are watching, you're paying attention to the protests. And the one person that I think is capable of getting it back is Nikki Haley, with enough money from foreign interest lobbies. So there it is, guys. I'm endorsing Nikki Haley, president of Israel. There are a lot of people in America that are sitting here going, okay, well, can you answer why Jews are so special? Because as white people in this country on university campuses, we are being taught that we are not allowed to have a voice. We have had to endure exactly what you're talking about, BLM. We've endured much worse than you have because it's in the actual textbooks. We are being told that we are systematically racist, that we are born wrong because of the color of our skin. And if we say anything, we'll lose everything. This is the typical experience on white campuses. So people, this is not whataboutism. This is like actually what we have been fighting for years. So it sort of arrived as, I think, for a lot of Americans, a surprise when they're saying, well, now that it's about Israel, which is something that's overseas, we need to, hand these university professors, we need to do something about this issue. Why weren't we trying to correct course on this issue? Why weren't donors pulling their funding out of these universities? Why weren't these same things being said for these last, I would say, 8 years of rampant BLM, white man can't do anything right, actively being taught in the classrooms? So there are people that are asking that question. Now, what I have said is that explicit calls for genocide, which was stunning to me to see that in Congress, are completely wrong. It is frankly crazy. I have not weighed in on the IDF's response in the same way that I have consistently said through every war, Ukraine and Russia, I don't want to be involved. I have said I don't want to be involved in Israel and Palestine, all these conflicts. My consistency seems to offend people, right? But I haven't made a single tweet or a single comment on IDF's response in Palestine. I haven't said a single thing about that. I have said it is always sad when a child dies. And the lack of humanity that I have seen from both sides has been very troubling for me. But to say that I have to weigh in and suddenly wave an Israeli flag and say things that, because you decide that you get to use my platform because it's personal to you, how is that fair to people? How is that fair? And then to go a step further and to suggest that it might be anti-Semitic, which is basically silence is violence, as a leftist tactic, to me feels very extreme.
Yeah, so you see now, you heard that. Now, Candace is not the only Daily Wire commentator who has been critical of the Israel First foreign policy that has been espoused by people like Ben Shapiro and Nikki Haley. You also have Matt Walsh that has weighed in on this subject, and he does not seem to be on board with the Israel First agenda either.
Israel doesn't need us, we need them. If that's true, then how can you say that in one breath and then in the next breath tell us that it is imperative for the United States to help Israel? I thought you said they don't need us. I mean, they don't need us at all. We could not exist, according to you, and it would make a difference. You cannot say both of those things. You cannot say they desperately need us and also they don't need us. You really expect us to believe that America benefits more from its alliance than Israel benefits from that same alliance? That is nonsense. No, Israel greatly benefits from America.
Yeah, so a lot of people at the Daily Wire are questioning the narrative, okay? But for whatever reason, Candace Owens seems to be the one that Ben Shapiro is the most pissed at, okay? In fact, Ben Shapiro actually came out and responded to a post that Candace Owens made on X in which she essentially quoted a Bible verse, okay? She said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs in the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revive you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Christ is king." Now, again, I'm not sure exactly who is she directing this towards, okay? If anything, I guess you can call this a subtweet, right? But a lot of people think it was directed towards Ben Shapiro. Now, I'm not saying that it was. I have no clue, okay? But a lot of people think this is directed towards Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro feels that it was directed towards him, so much so that he basically has called for Candace Owens to quit the Daily Wire, right? He says, "Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means, quit." Yeah, so again, this is a trigger Ben Shapiro coming out of left field here, calling for Candace Owens to quit the Daily Wire simply because he really doesn't like her comments in regards to Israel, okay? We all know where this is coming from. She responds. He said, "You have been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we have all had to sit back and allow it, and have all tried to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion. But you cross a certain line when you come from scripture and read yourself into it. I will not tolerate it. You are utterly out of line for suggesting that I cannot quote biblical scripture. The Bible is not about you." Well, I mean, hey, maybe Ben's argument is that we're God's chosen people, so therefore it is about me, right? Maybe that's his counter argument. I don't know. But what I do know is that apparently this is something that they have not talked about behind closed doors, and Candace Owens was shocked by Ben Shapiro's comments And she actually went on Tucker Carlson's show to discuss Ben Shapiro's comments towards her. And again, it seems like there is trouble in Wonderland at the Daily Wire. Take a look.
The internet was dominated yesterday by video of Ben Shapiro, who you work with at the Daily Wire, I think it's fair to say, attacking you. Here's the video. I just want to get your reaction to it.
Yes, the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
So maybe there's a point in the video where he explains what exactly you did wrong and how you were wrong. I haven't seen it. But to call somebody, quote, absolutely disgraceful, particularly a coworker, seems like a pretty big step. What? And I really don't know the background here. What is that about?
You know, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it when I woke up.
No one warned you about it.
Nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like it was some sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on. And in what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he's saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not, we disagree or I don't think she's correct or maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed in that, at least in that short clip, that he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what I said. But I will say that I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks. Yes. I don't think it helps further discussion. And if that was me that was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
Has he texted you to apologize or explain or anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was sort of something that he said. And you know what? Ben and I have many disagreements, so I don't think that that's particularly something that's interesting. We disagreed on the COVID vaccine. We disagree on Ukraine and Russia. He has taken virtually every stance that has been the opposite of mine on every issue over the last 5 years. So I don't think that that's particularly
on the COVID
remarkable.
Vaccine. Really, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he was pro the COVID vaccine. I was anti the vaccine. We were all idiots for not getting the vaccine. So that's totally fine. I am totally open to people having a difference in opinion.
Right.
I would hope that amongst colleagues that it would always be civil disagreement, and I would never in a private event stand on a table and talk badly about Ben.
It's just it's a little weird. So he was on the left on those three biggest issues of our time, is what you're saying?
He has converted his opinions. He's accepted responsibility. He said, I was wrong about the vaccine.
Oh, good.
He is, obviously pro pharma. His mom's a doctor. And I say to people, I'm very aware of my perspectives on big pharma, and I talk about it on my show openly. And I think that that's a tremendous credit to the Daily Wire that they allow a difference of opinions. But I as I said, hope that it would remain respectful and that you wouldn't throw your colleagues under a bus, so to speak.
I think that's fair. And just for clarity, because I really don't know, is he your boss?
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about Ben's involvement. He's not the CEO of the Daily Wire. He is not making the day decisions at the Daily Wire. And I do want to make it very clear because people are like, how could you possibly save Daily Wire after this? I have a very good relationship with the co-CEOs of the Daily Wire. Especially right now, the acting CEO is Caleb Robinson. He's a wonderful person. He's worked very hard to be where he's at. We have a lot in common that we connect on. And so people don't get to see that, which is unfortunate. Ben lives in Florida. He's not a part of the day-to-day movements of the Daily Wire. The rest of the hosts have their shows situated in Nashville. So we see each other every day. We talk. There's great camaraderie. And there's actually more agreement. There's actually a lot of people that are, as I describe myself, just pro-America first. And I think I've been that way consistently throughout my political career. Whether people agree with it or not in different moments is up for debate. But I don't want that video to become a reflection of how the Daily Wire works and the Daily Wire operates, because I have had a very good experience with the CEOs and, love Michael Knowles, love Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan. We all get along really great.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? You have the Daily Wire in a full-blown civil war between Candace and Ben Shapiro. Now, a lot of people have asked me on Twitter to chime in on this, right? Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about Candace's comments? Do you agree with Candace, okay, on this situation? Now, here's my opinion on this, right? I'll say this. When it comes to Ben Shapiro, I understand why he has the positions that he has on Israel. I personally think that Ben Shapiro being Jewish, I can understand why he has such deep allegiance to Israel, even more so than the United States, right? There's no doubt in my mind, if Ben had to choose between Israel and the United States, if he had to pick just one, he would go Israel 100%. And I get that, right? It's probably a religious thing. But as for me, hey, I'm America first. And I really mean that. Like, I really do think that as a part of America first, we should question all aid that we give to other countries, especially when we're talking about helping other countries fight wars, right? Helping other countries kill innocent civilians, which is what is happening, right? That's what's happening. So again, it's just fascinating to me how you have people that were ready to question the narrative on Ukraine, but now when it comes to Israel, if you question the narrative, that makes you an anti-Semite. And it's not even like I'm one of these people that believe that we shouldn't fund Israel at all. I just think that we have to really ask questions about the funding, what the funding is going to, and is the funding going to help Israel escalate this into a much larger regional conflict that is going to basically destroy all the progress that we've made in that region in regards to normalizing relations between Israel and some of these Arab nations. Because I do think that the key to Israeli strength and more independence from the United States is strengthening their ties and their bonds with the Arab nations around them. Those countries being able to cooperate and get along, I think, is the key. And in the context of America First, which should be about orchestrating peace so that we don't have to keep sending money overseas to defend our allies like we're doing with Israel, again, that makes sense. That should be the policy goal, right? Anytime you think about sending money there, you send money with the goal of not having to send money in the future, okay? But that's not what we do, okay? We're not asking questions about, well, what happens when Israel gets rid of Hamas, right? If that actually really happens, I'm not sure if they can actually get rid of Hamas because, you know, a lot of times when you try to destroy these terrorists, you just create more of them, okay? And Arabs are super patient people, okay? So it's not like, okay, well, you know, today you might get rid of most of them, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow you're not going to deal with the backlash or the aftermath of that. And that's essentially what has happened almost every time we've engaged in some of these conflicts with these religious extremists in the Middle East, like the Taliban. We thought we had the Taliban defeated when we went over into Afghanistan and overthrew the government. However, we didn't, okay? They just waited. They waited and they got more radical because we were killing a ton of people, okay? A lot of innocent civilians were dying, and that was being used to radicalize people. It actually created more terrorists, more enemies. And 20 years later, lo and behold, the same Taliban took back over the country. So again, I'm just saying, I think people need to ask questions about the end goal and whether or not this could possibly backfire in the future and what are some alternative options. But apparently, again, having any type of nuance or asking questions makes you anti-Semitic. And that's why I disagree with Ben Shapiro. Because it seems like anybody who questions anything in regards to U.S. aid to Israel or, you know, the foreign policy strategy of just allow Israel to do whatever they want unchecked, regardless of the geopolitical consequences. Anybody that questioned that being called as anti-Semitic, I think is ridiculous. It is a leftist tactic, actually. And that's what Candace Owens was pointing out. Okay, she was saying, look, all these same people that claim they were against the left when it comes to the tactics they use to silence people that they disagree with politically, these same tactics are being used by people like Ben Shapiro and others, not just him, to silence people that disagree with Israel first, okay? Essentially calling them anti-Semitic. And I'm tired of it. Like, I'm sick and tired of people not engaging in real arguments and just smearing people as bigots as a way to silence people, okay? I've criticized Cenk Uygur for doing this. Cenk Uygur, in a debate with a Jewish rabbi, basically started screaming about bigotry and the dude's being racist, because he couldn't respond to the rabbi's arguments. In this case, Ben Shapiro, instead of addressing what Candace Owens said was wrong, he just, you know, basically kind of personally attacked her. When he should have stuck to, Candace is my colleague. I believe in free speech, so she's entitled to her opinion. I don't agree with her opinions, and I don't agree with her opinions for X, Y, and Z reason, right? Instead of just saying that, well, her comments are despicable and such, and her behavior, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, so it's almost like you're criticizing her for having an opinion that's different than yours. But that's exactly what's happening, right? Because, again, they're not actually speaking on the real differences, right? And this is where I get to, I think, what saddens me the most about this. I think what saddens me the most about this is that this right here is a prime example of why I don't like talking about the Israel-Palestine situation. Because it doesn't matter how much nuance you use to evaluate the situation, whether or not you're on one side or the other side, or on both sides or neither side, you're somehow going to be called a bigot, right? You're somehow going to be a bigot, and both sides are going to accuse you of that, right? No matter where you're at on the issue. And it's tearing our country apart. Like, we really have people in this country that are protesting, rioting in the streets for other countries, right? For other countries, okay? These people are not even as passionate about America, okay? I've never heard Nikki Haley be as passionate about America as she is about Israel, right? And I think that's what bothers me the most. Is seeing so much passion for other countries, whether it's Israel or Palestine, more than our country, okay? And I think that's how a lot of people are feeling in the conservative space, that are essentially rejecting the traditional narrative that were always pushed by outlets like Fox News when it comes to this conflict, of just being on board with whatever and never asking questions. And I think people are like, no. Considering the track record of American foreign policy, we need to ask questions about every conflict. It doesn't matter who is between, right? Again, that's not to say Israel doesn't have the right to defend themselves. That's not to say that Israel doesn't have the necessary reasons to go and try to destroy Hamas. I'm not saying all that. All I'm saying is that I think that people should not be smeared as anti-Semitic for simply asking questions, right? Simply saying, hey, hold on, what are we doing here? What are we supporting here, right? Again, it's really that simple. So with that being said, I think Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens should talk it out, right? They should talk it out in the back room, okay? I mean, you work at the same company. You got each other's number. Send a text. Have a phone call, okay? All this stuff, doing it in public, is unnecessary. It looks petty. It looks petty when all you got to do is call each other up and just, hash it out, right? Hash it out. And don't drag this in public, okay? Because you work for the same company. It's not a good look. But the Daily Wire is going to be tested here in regards to their commitment to free speech, because if Candace Owens happens to leave the company or is forced out of the company or whatever over her comments, then it will show that they really not about free speech, especially when it comes to this situation with Israel, okay? You can say whatever you want about any other group, okay? But if you start to question Israel, okay, that's a problem. We might have to actually get you up on out of here, right? I'm just saying, it won't be a good look. So I personally think this is better handled behind closed doors, and they can just agree to disagree, and people are entitled to their opinions. Conservatives are not a monolith, right? Everybody has, a different sets of opinions on certain topics, certain issues. Some conservatives support funding Ukraine. Some conservatives don't support, continuing to fund Israel into eternity. And that's the beauty of politics, right? Is that you have a diverse set of opinions, and you should not be smeared as a bigot for simply expressing an opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.